Welcome, everybody, and welcome back to Bit About Crypto. I'm your host, David James. I'm the Job Whisperer, and once again, I'm with my co-host, Dave Hampton.
How's it going?
Robo Recruiter. Why do they call you that, man?
Because I'm relentless, and apparently I just go like RoboCop.
Yeah, and you're 6'6", and when you come, I pay attention. But anyhow, yeah. So we are the host of Bit About Crypto. Bit About Crypto is a human interest story that talks about humans, people from all walks of life, and the one thing they have in common is crypto in some form: blockchain, NFTs, cryptocurrency, et cetera, et cetera. We are the founders of Blockchain Recruiters, where we are recruiters to our core, and we empower others by finding them the ability to do that thing they love and make daily bread. So if you're out there and you actually have a crypto project, you need people, you contact Robo Recruit over here, because that's his side. And
he's Dave at blockchainrecruiters.net.
Yeah, and if you're looking for a job or an opportunity or a contract or a gig, whatever it is, or if you just want to talk about how you could repurpose your life as it relates to the crypto space, you call me. I'm David J. at Blockchain Recruiters, or you can actually find me on Twitter, the BTC Recruiter. And we have so many opportunities. We have so many clients that have engaged us. They need so many people. And what we do, what separates us, is we aggregate people in the crypto sphere, right? NFTs, blockchain, whatever it is, yeah. we aggregate those folks. And we don't say that we know them, we know of them, because knowing them doesn't really do us any good. It's like saying, hey, welcome to my house. Would you like bananas that I bought in March? I knew those bananas then. It's like, you want bananas? We know exactly where to go get fresh ones for you. So there it is for a metaphor. So, yeah. So there are all types, all forms of blockchain. When we started Blockchain Recruiters, specifically when we literally said we're going to recruit in the blockchain space, and we thought it was going to, where the demand was for people hiring us for candidates was the corporate space, like Litton Industries or Rockwell. They are going to start doing blockchain. There's some type of form of record keeping, right? So okay, this is a good space to be. And of course, there are exchanges and there's various cryptocurrencies for the sole purpose of how does somebody make more or accumulate more wealth. And then here in 2021, now 2022, all of a sudden, the last 7 months, the world has exploded with NFTs. And the NFTs are this great equalizer. And if you can't think in 4D, you're going to be left behind, don't you think? I mean, it really, well, at least me at 57, I gotta go back, and I gotta really stop and rethink and read.
Yeah, I mean, what I've been saying is I mean, at 20 years old, when the .com era was happening, I didn't know what was happening, right? And so right now, this is a way. If you're 20 years old, how do you not know this is happening and get in it?
And this opportunity is like the opportunity of the millennial. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Yeah. Don't sleep through it.
Right.
Don't sleep through it.
You don't have to go to college to know about this.
Don't sleep through it.
Not that I'm anti-college, but
But my whole thing, when Dave and I were having a conversation, and I'm sometimes a little over-ambitious on ideas, and he's the conservative one. And I said I wanted to get in the blockchain space. And he was talking about the candidates. I said, a lot of the candidates can be repurposed. They will take what they know, and they will visionarily think about and see the next role they have, which brings me to our newest guest. Right, today's guest is Brendan Oneil, and he's the founder of Sombra, and as well as Bonfire, but I think we're talking Sombra specifically today. But what makes him so interesting, and we're going to let him get into it. If you go into his background, then what's the first thing we do when we hear about somebody? Where do we go?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, we look him up, right? And this guy, has the affinity and the panache for graphics and special effects. And he has, I think it's a verb and a noun where he nukes, right? We're going to talk about, it's a software, right? Smoke, smack, flare, and nuke, right? And I'm assuming that has to do all with versioning and tracking and things of those nature. But we're going to talk about it. So with no further ado, let's welcome from New York City, Brendan Oneil. Thank you so much for joining us on Bit About Crypto.
How's it going? Nice to be here.
It's going really, really well. So first, just so we get started, why don't you just talk about your life? I'm assuming you're from upstate New York. Is that correct?
No, actually, I'm a military brat, so I've been, kind of all over the place. But we've, mainly East Coast, Southern East Coast, actually, like Virginia, North Carolina, sometimes Maryland. My father was a doctor in the Navy, so just depended on what was happening at the time.
Yeah, I just saw Syracuse, so I just figured, is that where you started? So let's just talk about your life as a kid. What were you into when you were like grade school, junior high? What was your jam?
I was a skateboard kid, I guess, and I ended up doing video graphics and sort of, I guess, Premiere editing when I was 10. It came with a camera that my mom got me because I was really interested in filming skating with my friends because that was the cool thing to do, even though we all sucked. And it sort of evolved from like a bad, hobby where I realized I wasn't going to be, a professional skateboarder for a variety of reasons, into a profession within, tech and, a love for film, but also sort of a, desire to do more than just like, call myself, a director or, whatever it is. I think that we wanted to push boundaries. And I always found visual effects really interesting. And I never really knew exactly how to get into that field because it wasn't something that was really accessible to me, I guess, at the time. The internet was more limited in terms of what it offered, I think, advertisement wise, schooling wise, all sorts of things. Like now you can get on Facebook and people, can kind of find those resources, but back then it didn't exist. So I fell into it through editorial work and, advertising basically, and ended up doing visual effects when I moved to New York after college. And, from there it was just sort of all history.
So I'm not gonna let you not unpack. You said about film. Let's
Yeah.
I have a little history with loving film and having made a movie, and so let's talk about your love of film. I don't want to just brush over that.
Sure. That's why we started making movies, I think, and why I, kept kind of pursuing it in school. Why my mom, had a lot of stress and heartache thinking I was going to be a destitute, street artist or something like that. I don't really know what her thought process was, but, I don't know. We wanted to be involved in that medium somehow, but didn't know exactly how. And, I think for me, visual effects was something where I found myself engrossed in hours and hours and hours and sort of endless learning. And it was sort of a time where I would lose myself and just something where you enjoy it purely. And to be able to do that for work, while it has its pitfalls at times, I think was really enjoyable. And so for, film, obviously I have a different perspective, I think, on film these days than I did then, but film,
Yeah.
film when I was, growing up was obviously a way to escape, as it is for many people.
Like Terminator 2, probably like, wow. I haven't got the genre and the year right. Like,
I don't know. I think
Terminator 2
maybe
was
what year?
90,
What year was it?
94?
yeah, like
Yeah, I guess that's kind of right.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you were more about Terminator 2 than you were Pulp Fiction, right?
Yeah, well, I'm a natural born killers guy.
That's
So,
right. That's right. Written by Quentin Tarantino, right? Go ahead.
No, I just, I'm more into, I think, I like the visual effects aspect, but there's also a lot of times visual effects isn't even something you notice, but it actually is quite a prominent part of the story. Like, rig removal or, really like wire removal in the Matrix, like, all of those rigs that had to get taken out, which my friends actually had to do a lot of the work on. You don't see that stuff, but, that's a huge component to like telling those stories. And I think that that's also a really interesting aspect of it is there's so many things behind the scenes people don't even know happen that, when you say visual effects, you think about explosions and you think about green screens and you think about more traditional conceptual visual effects, but there's a much deeper rabbit hole there that, exists beyond what people know. And, the gamut is very wide. It spans, color correction and, compositing and cleanup and versioning and, some really cool things and some really boring things and like, rotoscoping if you're bad or, if you need to be punished, which is cutting things out frame by frame. But there's just so many things. And I think there's just an endless learning to be done. And that's one of the other really interesting things is that you never are done learning.
So
Kind of like crypto.
So when you got out of college or decided you were done with school, what did you think you were going to be or do?
I think well, when I got out of school, I thought I was going to do something in post production, like editorial, maybe like be an Avid editor or be a, at the time Final Cut. Now it would be more Premiere. So I thought maybe I would edit films or edit commercials, and I did do some of that, but I ended up falling more into the visual effects aspect of it because it was just more interesting. And I ended up at a company that is very well known for it, and a lot of the environment I was sort of surrounded by was, very posh luxury, clientele from all the top agencies in the world. We worked on all the Super Bowl ads every year, tons and tons of them. There was like tons of sushi. The parties had all sorts of different people from all over New York and the world, and, illicit substances probably after hours that I, didn't stick around for. But that, environment was really interesting, at least as a younger person in New York. And it really was sort of inspiring a lot of the times too, to sort of watch some of the things that were being created around me. And, at the time, especially the equipment and the technology, the software, all the components were exorbitantly expensive to the point where only really top level companies could afford it. So the barrier to entry was so high that it was just like the place to be. Now it's much different. People can buy an iMac or a computer and go home, and some of the things they can do in their own house are quite impressive.
You said a lot.
Yeah.
You said a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did crypto find you?
I was working at an editorial company doing visual effects.
What year?
2015.
Okay.
Some of my friends were talking about crypto and, doing the, typical middle-aged 20s back and forth about what was going on in this space. And I didn't know what it was. And so I was really curious what this fervor was in the room. And so I asked, and they told me, and I kind of started learning more about it. And I started reading about it. I started seeing not just the financial side of it, but also the technology behind it and some of the actual applications for real world use. And sort of, I think I don't know if it's my favorite quote, but one of the more timely quotes of this time, I think, in terms of crypto that Elon Musk said, is that the only difference between gold and Bitcoin is, gold is basically, irrelevant, whereas Bitcoin is almost irrelevant, and it's not verbatim what he said, but, I think the point was that gold is really completely subjective when it comes to value, whereas Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and these things, they actually, despite you may thinking it's worthless in theory, there's actually a real technology behind it that gives it a tangible use case and a tangible value that is something unlike a currency I think that we've ever seen before. And so I think that just that alone was so interesting to me that I, fell down that obsession hole again, as I often do.
Yeah, well, also, it's funny because I would love for Peter Schiff and Elon Musk to debate because Peter Schiff says the exact opposite, that Bitcoin is totally irrelevant. It's not worth anything but gold. You can put it in someone's teeth or something like that. But also the other thing that it's missing, the difference between Bitcoin and gold is you can take as much Bitcoin as you want to space, as much as you want. Not so much with gold.
Right. Well, it kind of sounds to me sort of similar to the argument about like DVDs, where it's like, okay, like, yeah, everyone loves DVDs. Everyone needs that physical, tangible product. You need to have a DVD. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to sell that movie to your consumers. And people are like, no one's ever going to just download a movie and own it digitally. That'll never happen. But here we are, and that's exactly
where can you find DVDs now, huh?
Yeah, you can. Like, that's just, it doesn't exist. And so it's like, you want to talk about what trends in technology are over time. If you look at what happens, it's obvious where it's headed. It's not a question. Yeah. It's just obvious.
I'm going to tell myself. So there are a couple of tapes of some people speaking that I respect. And I had these CDs in the garage. You know how it is in the garage. It's like when your wife says, hey, you got to clean that up. And they fell out. I'm not going to throw these out. And I threw them on the front seat of my car. This happened in like the last 72 hours, right? And so listen, I'm motoring on down to the golf course. And then I literally grab it and I literally reach. And there's no CD player in my car. And it's like, I don't play CDs. It just didn't dawn on me. This probably like 3 cars ago since I've had a CD player. It's just how that is. And yeah, I'm looking old right now.
It was 1 car ago. How do I know? Because I have that old car.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's that. So there's a CD player.
There's a CD player.
Thank God. I thought it was crazy. It's you, not me. And Anyhow, let's talk about your life in visual effects. Visual effects. So we're recruiters, right? And the thing that makes us really exceptional recruiters is not that we find the best people in a specific space. We find opportunities that we love and we think others will love, and then we find those people that are loving what they're doing. They just need to be repurposed, different seat on the bus, right? And I can tell. I'm a recruiter to my core. I can tell about you that you actually you always love this thing. You've pursued this thing, and et cetera, et cetera. How did you go from like an Avid editor? And by the way, I'm familiar with Avid because we edited my movie on the Avid. How do you go from an Avid editor to the Metaverse? How did we get to that thing? And then let's weave into that and let's start talking about your project or projects.
Yeah, I mean, how do you get from that to this? Well, I mean, visual effects found me young, so I segued out of that editorial role early on, which I think was really my direct connection into this because Unreal Engine, it's really weird how it all converged, but as a visual effects artist and company, basically we've been doing a lot of real-time Unreal Engine, Unity, a lot of work within that world. We've also now been doing a lot of motion capture. One of our lead NFT artists and, one of my good friends now, Demian Gordon, he's very well known in the motion capture community and, has pioneered visual effects on, the Matrix films, was responsible for a lot of those fight scenes that were beyond human capability at the time. He's also, been on endless amounts of films. But regardless, the point being is that we've got a lot of specialties within, the motion capture world, the real-time visual effects world, and then obviously my love for cryptocurrency and the communities that surround it, and that all now has kind of come into one where the high quality of visual effects that we're used to is now coming into these real-time productions, and then now it's being driven through motion capture and things like that, which allows us to use our existing skill sets to just literally translate over into this, new, amazing, exciting NFT world.
Stop for one second. I don't want to brush over this. Let's talk about your love for cryptocurrencies. I mean, if you're going to mention that, then let's talk about that.
Sure. I mean, I like I said before, I love the technology behind it. I think that it's just really interesting. I think it's quite genius on many levels, and I think that it solves a lot of real world problems. And it's really quite, I think, world-changing, frankly.
Mm-hmm. So, are there coins or are there projects that are use case specific to you and the way you occur that makes you go, "Wow, I'm all about this," whether you participate in it or not?
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite projects is Theta. I really like what they're about in terms of the technology behind what they're doing for, decentralized, technology.
Tell our audience about it.
Well, I'm not sure if people are familiar with it, but basically Theta's, I haven't really been following up as much these days with projects as I've been doing my own, but, I started to follow them because I enjoyed the fact that their, prerogative or, goals as a cryptocurrency is effectively to, decentralize the streaming process and bandwidth process for people when it comes to, sharing data, video data effectively and gaming data across the world, which basically means that, through staking of coins and running validator nodes and others types of, nodes that they have, it allows people to share bandwidth, share power for upload, download, the ability to, transfer bytes and things like that over an encrypted network, basically at, speeds that are much more improved. And so I thought that was, a really interesting thing. And then, subsequently learning about Filecoin and some of the other types of more technology-based cryptocurrencies.
I like that one a
really
lot.
Interesting.
I like Filecoin a lot.
So there's a lot of things, I think that are interesting like that. And I'm just always about the utility. For me, it's always about utility. And of course, I have some of the top 10 cryptos just because, that's something that I, started off with. But I think for me now, I really like to look for other utility-based tokens. And one of my other favorites is actually VeChain because I really love the concept of supply chain. And I think that that's one of the most applicable, obvious things when it comes to, tracking transactions and data and, situational things. And so for me, that, just in concept is just such a good idea, really, that, it just makes sense. So as long as they are a good dev team and, they're doing what they need to do, I have faith that that'll hopefully, be a big player in the future as well.
Do you have your, no pun intended, do you have your pulse on the new project Pulse Chain or Pulse Swap? Do you have any awareness?
I'm actually not familiar with it.
Okay, yeah, then we'll pass on that. So let's talk about your project, because I'm excited to what's about to happen here on the Zoom call in soon. So just take that any way you want.
So Sombra Network, whichever you'd prefer to call it, is basically, like we said before, the first visual effects company on blockchain. We're an award-winning group of visual effects artists, producers, executive producers, managing directors, and just businessmen and women alike. And we segued into cryptocurrency sort of as a foray with our visual effects, prowess and understandings. And with Sombra, we've been able to sort of branch into the NFT world and Metaverse world, and we're offering clients, really awesome opportunities to sort of like become the portal for them into this NFT and cryptocurrency world. We do all the advertising basically as a visual effects company for PayPal through Bonfire VFX, my other visual effects company. And also we just did all of the NFTs for the NFL. They did 32 NFTs in partnership with Ticketmaster, which we did all of them, and there's more to come soon. So, we're having great conversations with brands because we've already been working with them for many years. And, it's been a great, easy conversation to sort of have with them about crypto and NFTs. And while many of them are reluctant, it's definitely softer than you'd expect from, maybe an outsider or a cold call. And, we're able to sort of, through natural conversations, through existing jobs, things that we're already doing, just slip conversations and, and give them information and just be a resource for them. And through that process, it's just led to so many opportunities. And I think that is really where we also see the future, is positioning ourselves as not just experts in digital creation, but experts in digital creation on blockchain, and helping brands segue them and their company and their employees and all their followers into the NFT market and to the digital collectible world, which really is going to play a huge role in how these brands really solidify themselves in the future.
So wave your crystal ball, your magic wand, whatever it is. Talk about, what does the world look like as it relates to what you see from your seat, as it relates to anything blockchain, crypto, NFT, whatever, in 5 years?
I think that there's going to be in-home sort of, camera-based tracking methodologies that are going to be able to track body and face, and you'll be able to sort of embody different types of avatars. You'll be able to enter into different metaverses through VR headsets and, kind of augmented AR, sensor-based things. I don't think that the AR aspect of it will be fully developed within 5 years. I think it's probably going to be more like 10 or something like that before we really see like hardcore Minority Report type stuff that's really integrated into society. But I do think that stuff will come, and it'll be progressive. And, one day we'll all wake up and we'll be living in, cyberpunk, Blade Runner Tokyo, and everyone's going to be like, upvoted as you walk down the street, or, liked, or whatever it is. And it's going to be like an episode of Black Mirror. So I think that, in 5 years, we're going to be a lot closer to like understanding what the metaverse really is, and like who the major players really are. We're going to have some great new amazing technology that's going to be making waves and giving people really awesome new immersive experiences. But I still think we're going to be at the cusp kind of that emergence point. We're going to be like in it, but I think that we're going to be kind of like walking through that gateway.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. It'll be what it'll be, but I'll tell you who it won't be, or what it won't be. It won't be Facebook. I think the fact that Facebook just put out a press release said, "Hey, we're Metaverse." I think they're going to go the way of the 8-track tape. I really do.
MySpace, yeah.
Well, a lot of people are discussing that too in terms of their disdain for the company, and also like comparing it to Omniverse, which is the NVIDIA-based Metaverse concept, which is a much more, I think, corporation-based and, kind of connection-based infrastructure rather than like a flashy entertainment one.
So thank you so much for what you've given us. Now, for all of our YouTube viewers, yay for you. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, it's not going to be as cool. So can you actually become that thing that we discussed?
I can, yes. I'll have to put something on real quick. Hold on for a moment, please.
And comes. So for those of you who are listening to audio only, he's got this thing around his head like a miner's light, but it looks like the Oneida sign and it blinks fluorescently. And he's got it on his wrists too.
Can you guys see that, or is it blurry?
It's a little too blurry.
You have the zoom filter on.
I do, yeah. But I don't know how to... Oh, that one, yeah. That's why. Ha! Fair enough. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys.
So I can't even describe this. I'm sorry, I can't even describe this, but
I can't.
I
I'm watching
literally-
a video game.
He's in the middle of a video game, and hey, and we're part of it. Look, we're on the screen at the top. Yeah. Cool. Go back to me, Travis. Leave Dave Hampton out.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Dave James
Yeah.
loves some him.
Yeah, I'm in love with me.
Yeah.
Wow, this is fantastic. So he's become this avatar, and it does no justice for the narrative. And he's spraying fire onto anything he can burn in his living room, which is like circa 2100, 2120, like 100 years from now kind of thing. This is amazing.
So let me just set the face up real fast because I have to reset the IP address for that because it changed. So one moment while I do that. But give you a little taste and then we'll jump right back in and
Yeah.
can have some fun.
Hey, David, so you want to talk about some of the jobs that we actually have? I mean, I know that we're loaded with some stuff.
Do you want to talk about some of the jobs? Because that's usually my go-to line that my wife uses when she wants to do something.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm sure we better talk about something, right? Because
Well, sure. So, I mean, right now we have, the big thing is Web3 developers and blockchain engineers, and we have some a couple of needs for CTOs or head of engineering type roles, where preferably the roles or the companies are asking for people who can code, but also really have the ability to lead teams from a macro standpoint as well. Which is, I mean, not that they can't be found, but you're asking for two different people in one role, so to speak. You know, you usually don't find a manager and a technician rolled into one, which makes it a harder search.
yeah. So what makes this space so challenging to recruit for, but in a good way, is that the people who actually are doing the hiring, they haven't hired the same person for the last 10 years, right? Where they've hired 50 of them over the course of their career.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that say, well, we need this thing, but we don't know what this thing is. And specifically when it comes to the chief technology officer, if you are a CTO who can program, or let me say it this way, if you are a badass programmer who actually knows that you have the leadership skills to be a CTO, then you need to contact us, because if you actually have experience with Web3, okay, or any type of layer one type oriented thing, then we will get you paid. Okay, and I'm not talking about we'll get you paid in fiat, but we'll get you paid in tokens.
Yeah.
But the opportunity of saying, hey, I really did this. I'm going to go back to construction. All right, there's our friend Tyler Dillon. Shout out to Tyler Dillon. We still love you so much, even though we don't work in construction anymore. But he's one of the smartest project execs, VPs I've ever spoken to. And he was talking about this property in Florida that he built from the ground up. And when you look at it, you can't even describe what the shape is. He says, that is my thing. And so if you're a CTO, or if you think you've got what it takes to program as a CTO, and you're not a CTO yet, you need to call me. All right, are we back?
We're back.
We're back. All right, let's go.
What's up, guys?
Oh my God. I'm not. I would do this such justice. And if you're not watching this on YouTube, This is so great. So let's talk about it. So it's a Caesar from Planet of the Apes meets Jim Carrey from The Mask meets the Joker from Batman.
I don't like that.
I mean,
so this is our brand ambassador. He's named Unit 256.
Okay, he's Unit 256. That's a better analogy. I can't even describe this. This is so amazing.
Well, he looks like the T-1000 the Terminator 2 with this like part of his face on, right? Yeah. That's what he reminds me of.
Yeah, it's just
except he's got purple hair instead of like Schwarzenegger's hair.
Is this an avatar that you actually created? You decided, hey, this is how I'm going to occur, or do you change it?
This is our personal avatar that we created. Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. So this isn't specific just to you.
Well, it is specific just to me, basically, for the purposes of Sombra, but I guess effectively, it's the proof of concept avatar for our series and sort of like the level of quality that people can expect from the 3D versions of our avatars. So I think that's kind of the point to take away from it.
I'm speechless. Really. It's really
looks like a character out of that movie series Pusher. You ever seen that series? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I haven't seen that. That sounds interesting. Yeah, Tell me about it.
It's just like a Central European mafia type movie, except it's super violent. I mean, it's just a different like dark noir mafia genre, if you ask me. I only know about it because I have a buddy. His name is Roy Delaney. He's a director, movie guy, and anytime he could watch a movie, he was watching movies, watching to analyze them, and that kind of thing. So that's what he does. He's a film guy.
So what's the name of this person we're visiting with right now?
This is Unit 256, also known as the blacksmith.
The blacksmith. Okay, so he softens that metal and he bends it as he sees fit.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I guess he bends both ways, something like that.
Yeah. So, and that's cool too. So, touche. So, what's his personality? What's he saying right now? I mean, other than the obvious.
I don't know. He just wants to talk about Sombra. He just wants people to know all about the project.
All right.
He wants you guys to know about the tech behind why his face is moving and how his body's moving and some of the partnerships that he's been able to hang out with and get sorted out. He also needs to get his chest fixed, though, so I need to do that real fast.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't even notice. We didn't even notice. So Brandon, what do you, as we're coming to an end here, what do you think the future of jobs in the space of NFT and crypto is? What do you think it's looking like?
I think that there's, a lot of different types of jobs that are going to exist soon. I think, there's going to be jobs in the metaverse as characters, as vloggers, doing what I'm doing right now, being an actor. People that are actors are going to have jobs in the metaverse being personalities, which is pretty cool. You're going to have people who are, making all of this content, visual effects studios, independent artists, people that are building up their own teams to be metaverse content creators. You've seen an explosion on Fiverr over the last, year and a half. And that's been mainly due, I think, to cryptocurrency because people are looking to get into it in like a different way, so they're looking to get artists that they don't have access to, and they're having to go through these mediums, but that's what Sombra's here for. We're here to offer people better quality and the opportunity to work with, top level metaverse creators.
Put up the social for them again, right there. Yeah. This is so fantastic. Brendan, I can't thank you enough.
This is awesome.
I had no idea what I was rolling up on. I did it. And if you're not watching it on YouTube, I really feel bad for you. I do. This is.
If you're not watching on YouTube, go watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, 100%. This is really good. Anyhow, thank you so much for actually joining us today and being on our show.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. And I hope that you guys have me or Unit 256 back soon.
No, it'll be Unit 256.
Oh yeah, he's more interesting.
Hey! I don't like
More
that. I
interesting
don't like
looking,
that.
at
Like you
least,
said to me,
but-
I don't like that. I don't like that. You're very interesting. Anyhow, hey, Travis, our engineer, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Coming to you live from Sticky Paws Studio. What's your what's your scratch? You got your
It's like the paw scratch. I don't know what you're asking.
Show the thing on the screen.
Oh, this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, I guess I heard it from afar because it sounded like a burp when I heard it. But to Dave Hampton, the Robo Recruiter.
Eternally grateful. Thank you so much.
I'm David James, the Job Whisperer. And remember, everybody, get to whisper.